intro. It's like, okay, welcome. Thank you for being here with us. My name is Omar Elizondo. This is the UTeach podcast, and I'm here with Danyelle Valdez. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing wonderful.
Awesome.
So, Danyelle, this is the third podcast that we have. So let's start with what is your major?
So I am a biology major. I've been wanting to be like in the biology field for a while now. Ever since I saw my dad and his biology books, I was like, okay, I have to do biology. But then the field, it gets more complicated, and I was like, that's not really for me. And then my dad told me about his teaching experience. So I was like, well, why don't I become a teacher? And then UTeach was here, and they're like, hey, we take in science majors. And I was like, really? Yeah. That's cool. So then, so now I'm biology with UTeach.
So you started, you said in the very beginning right there, you had said that you were questionable about biology. And what did you not like about it, or what were you unsure?
Like the traveling, sometimes you gotta travel, or you have to go really into details with the scientific fields and stuff like that. And that just wasn't for me. I wanted to be more interactive with people.
Okay.
But I didn't want to be a doctor, that kind of interactive, but I wanted to teach and be more I don't know how to explain it. I just knew biology was for me, but just not the sciencey stuff. You know what I mean? Scientists.
Biology is science. It's a little confusing.
It is, but I knew I wanted to teach it. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I knew that if I got it, and it was so fun learning it, I want that to be that for someone else, for a student.
Okay. So, since you say you enjoy biology, where was your fascination for it? When did that start?
I want to say my senior year, when we had our college kids come in. And they brought some stuff to show off the oh, you can do this for this major or this for this major. And it says they brought on the live animals, and they're like, yeah, we have classes for that, deal with this, and you can go into the microscopic level, learning their cells or how certain animal brains function, their intimate factors, and I was just so amazed by that. And I told my dad's like, well, yeah, before I became whatever, I used to do biology. And I was like, really? And then that's when he showed me everything. And I was so amazed.
He do? So what did he do?
At first he was a coach, but then he didn't like that one that much because he stayed home late or whatever.
Okay. So then, a high school coach?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he's like, I see these kids on the field, and I want them to do more. Because sometimes sports aren't in their future.
Yeah.
So he's like, if I can help them in educational, I would do that. So he went back to school here when it was UTBA, actually, and then he got his master's in biology, and then from there he started teaching. And then he felt so proud when he would come home and he knew that students got it, or when the test came in and they got that 100, and on that subject, and they can, not that they memorized the work. But when he asked questions about it, they were so eager, oh, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell and stuff like that. And I was just I want to do that too.
Okay. So you want to share in the enthusiasm that comes in teaching.
Yeah.
So fun. What class are you taking in UTeach right
now? The step 1 UTeach, I think it's one. I don't know the class, but it's
1101.
1101.
Step
there
1,
you go.
Yeah.
Yes, the step 1 class.
Okay, so you just started in the program.
Yes.
Okay. And how do you like it so far?
It's different because I was in the wrong degree plan. I didn't know UTeach was a thing until I came with Miss Yates. And I was taking other teaching classes, and it was so, I don't want to diss them, but it was so boring because they just teach you oh, so when a student's acting up, you just want to get close to them. But here in UTeach, you actually show it as you're teaching us.
Okay.
And I think that's really cool. And then we got a really good hands-on experience. I've never taught. In the other teaching classes that I've had, we never had to teach or create a lesson plan.
Okay.
So it was nice and great to have that first-hand experience, because when we're teachers, the other classes teach you how to be teachers, but UTeach helps you become a teacher. Does that make sense?
Well, I think you're trying to say that maybe in the early education courses, it changes as you go through it, but since you said you were taking some courses, maybe early they talk about what it takes to be a teacher, and then here you show it. 4 weeks in, you're already teaching your first lesson.
Yeah, and it's a good thing, because if they talk about it, other students can be oh, it's whatever, I got this.
Yeah.
But there's actually more to being a teacher than just go point at the boards, show some PowerPoints. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of like talking about boxing. You're like, I know how to box. And then you get in the ring and you get beat up. What's going on?
You're totally dumbfounded by the experience. And then I'm really glad I'm in the program, because I don't think if I was just, the traditional teaching, UTeach shows you other ways on how to teach. And I think that's really cool, because I hated when I was in school when they're just PowerPoint, here's the worksheet, read it off there. Like, it never really stuck. But with UTeach, when you get the hands-on experience, it sticks to you better. Like, not even like as a student, but also as a future teacher.
Yeah. I think there's a saying that people remember like moments. They remember moments. They remember experiences. So you'll keep that experience with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Versus like having to, I don't know, just if you read it, you're like, okay, I read it, I got it, but you might forget about it shortly later. But the experience, you'll remember.
It sticks, yeah.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
True. That's true. And so at this point, it's December 2nd. So you have finished all 3 of your lessons. How did they go for you this semester?
So the first one was with our partner. It was kind of easy because we had someone there. But I was super nervous because you're with a whole different group of kids you've only watched them, because I think we had our first observation before that.
Yeah.
So I only noticed like some kids, but that's because for my class, we didn't have all the students there yet. So teaching the first lesson, I was just like, well, what if I say something wrong, or what if I do something that's different from the teacher, and the students are like, whoa. Okay. But having my partner there with me was a good thing, because she was able to keep me like grounded, and I wasn't so nervous because I had someone to back me up. And then as the second teaching lesson went on, I was more confident, because I had gotten my experience already. I already knew the kids a little bit, and then with the observations I can kind of tell who is like what kid's gonna focus more, what kids are gonna stand out a little.
Yeah.
And then by the third lesson, I was a support teacher, so I was there to help out my lead teacher to be the best she can be. And then unfortunately I got there late, but that's okay.
No, it's okay. Yeah, it happens. But yeah, I saw you for the first lesson. I saw you for the third lesson.
Yes.
And I saw a lot of natural teaching ability already there, and so that's something that some students walk in with. They walk in and they already have a natural skill to teach. They still don't know like the theories.
Yeah.
They still don't know how to implement certain practices. But just having that natural skill gets you a long way. It's like, let's go back to that boxing thing. Like, if you just innately know how to box, that's going to help you, and then training will make you better, right?
Yes, exactly.
So I saw that in your class. And you were at Canterbury, right?
Yes, I was in Canterbury with Miss Baus.
Yeah, her kids
she's
are
awesome.
great. She's really great teacher. I've seen her for several years.
Yeah, for observations, like her kids, like they didn't get it. She stuck with that one, like the kid, but not really pointing him out like, oh, student A, why don't you get it? She used it as an opportunity to kind of get the whole class to talk about it.
Yeah.
Which also helps the kid, because it's gonna sound weird, but sometimes students learn better from their peers than like the teacher itself. Like, oh, sometimes they block out the teacher, but the students or their peers are like, oh, so yeah, I got this because I just did this, exactly what they showed. They're gonna be like, oh, okay, I get it, and then it sticks them a little bit better.
Sometimes, it's because you're older than them. Your perspective is different than them, so having a peer helps, so they can get the perspective of their peer, and they can get the perspective of the teacher, and hopefully they can work out. Now, the student who's teaching them may have it incorrect, and may have false information, and that student's teaching the wrong information to another student, but you're there to fix that.
Yeah, to fix that and steer them to the right.
That's the most important thing. So since you were in high school, elementary, middle school, high school, how has your perspective on teaching changed since you got into the UTeach program?
So, like, grade-wise, I was pretty good. I was an A and B student, but as I got older, from elementary, I knew that my teacher was just kind of like, because we had to teach all the subjects, so she had to jump around from whatever to whatever subject. But then in middle school, certain teachers teach certain subjects and stuff like that, and you can see the different ways they teach according to like the subject. Like for me, I'm not strong at math, and majority of my class wasn't strong at math, so my math teacher would try to make it fun. Okay. As for science, they knew it was more hands-on, and we would get excited with the materials, so she tried to be more grounded and like try to get us to calm down. And then in high school, I think I had this one teacher who was just there like, I'm just here to get paid, and I did not like that. I transferred out of that class and I went to another one. And in that one, my new teacher, he was there like for a while. He was one of the older teachers, the OG teachers. And you can tell he knew his subject and that he was confident about what he was going to say, and he was confident that the students were going to get it. And that's what I liked. And you can tell the different teaching styles within the teaching like grade levels. Does that make sense?
No, it totally makes sense. I get it. I mean, I went through. Everybody has that teaching has the teaching experience from the student's perspective, because we all went through elementary, middle school, and high school, and we see it from our eyes, and so we have. I think it's hard in UTeach to counteract that, because we are trying to fight against what is supposed. I think that's what, like 12 years.
The traditional
of traditional teaching, and so you come in and we're trying to change that. I mean, that's like me telling you that the sky is not blue, it's pink. Like for years, right? Like if I was to say that, like, it would be so embedded in you. If I was to try to change your mind, like, that's not true, right? I mean, factually, it's not true, but you get my point, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's hard to change that mindset, but that was from the perspective of a student. Now your perspective is of a teacher, so you can take what you've learned as when you were a student, and you can take what you're learning currently as a teacher, and sometimes you understand where the kids are coming from, and you're like, I understand, I get it, but this is the purpose. This is why we're trying to do this, so that they can value what you're talking about.
Exactly, yeah. Because there's like the teacher that knew everything and like he like was on the ball about everything. I felt more confident in his class than my other teacher's class, because he was the traditional type, like, oh, here's the PowerPoint, just take notes on it, highlight the important stuff, and then the test is gonna be there.
Yeah.
And it's boring. Like, I hated that class, and like the students are just like, oh, well, it's easy, like it's an easy A. I'm like, I'm not there for an easy A. Like, I want to stick to it because other grade levels are gonna require this knowledge.
Yeah.
Like for what was it? Geometry. I would like, for me, I'm a note, like I love taking notes. And that helped me throughout my high school classes, because some classes required like geometry, or even my college classes. Like they're like, okay, so we're gonna use geometry, and I'm like, oh, I remember. And then I remember I had one classmate. She's like, dude, I don't get this. And I was just like, well, like we learned this, and she's like, yeah, but I wasn't really paying attention. I just took the notes and left. And I was just like, well, I don't know what to tell you. Here are my notes. Like, have at it.
Well, I mean, that also goes to the fact that something that needs to be told to students. Like, I'm trying to train you to be a good teacher. We all are in the UTeach program. But something that students need to be told is that you need to have an investment in your own education.
Totally.
I mean, everyone is trying their best. Well, not everybody, but most people are trying their best to make you better. But hey, what are you doing at night? Oh, you're playing Pokemon Go, and you're on Twitter or whatever it is y'all are on. You need to have some type of investment in yourself, and a lot of students don't do that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's a losing battle that you're gonna have. But that's something else you can embed in your students in your class. So, like for example, you're talking about not learning things and just taking notes. I would always tell my students, like, I don't give homework.
Yeah.
We're gonna work in class, and that's the most important time. And I expect you, when you go home, you don't have to worry about my class. We'll worry about that tomorrow. When we're here, we're gonna work. And so that took a while. That actually takes like 2 months for them to understand. Oh, I get it. So he wants the 90-minute classes. He wants the 90 minutes that we're here to be most important for science. That way, when you go home, then you can relax and take it easy and focus on that. When we're here, we're gonna fight and battle. But you can still train kids to do that. Your students in your class, still a possibility.
Yeah, like I know before my student habits weren't that good. As soon as a test came up, I would just binge study the crash course,
memorize it.
Yeah, and I was just like, I'm not really learning, because when the next quiz came around and it's about like the previous lessons, I'm just like, wait, what? So I had to really think hard and be like, if I want to stay in this subject or like stay in this course, I need to get my act together and piece my study time. So I'm not gonna spend 5 hours, because it's either gonna get out the window or I'm just gonna be so sick of it. So for me personally, I would do like an hour a day, take a breather, check online, see if they have a review, and see if I can do the review by myself without looking at the notes. But if I need help, then that means I would need to spend another like 30 minutes on that subject or on that chapter. And I think that really helped. And then, I mean, there's other teachers who, just quiz here's the quiz on Tuesday, study, whatever. And it's just like, well, what do I study? And for me, as a teacher, as a future teacher, I would want there to be like a middle ground personally. Like, a lot of teachers don't give homework out in college, but I think if you do give out homework, it'll stick to them a little bit better.
Okay.
Especially because in college they have so much free time. Well, some people do. Like for me, I work 2 jobs, so it's kind of hard. But with the homework, like the time that I don't get to study, I learn there from the homework. Or like, yeah, I can use my time better instead of like going out. When I have a test coming up or my homework's due, I can actually stay there and learn the lesson. So that way, when we talk about it the next class, I'm not there completely lost.
Yeah. So you're looking for because your time is so precious. When you have like 20 minutes, like, I can use this 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Of to study or learn the lesson or listen to this information, this podcast or this video about whatever it is they're talking about. That's smart. That's a good thing to do, and that's something that students don't do. They don't see time as precious. They're just like, well, whatever. They're just always losing time, and that's unfortunate. So the sooner you get that skill, the better, and the sooner you teach that skill to your students, they'll appreciate you for it. They really will.
I hope so.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things you can do in teaching besides the topic. So here's a really good question I like to ask people. What's something you wish you had first known when you began college? Not the UTeach program, but college.
Oh, man. The one thing I wish I knew was that, I mean, I kind of knew college wasn't like high school. Like, they're not going to baby you. But reality will hit you hard in the face when you get to pick your own schedule. Because you can think like, I have an hour or so between this class and this class. What am I going to do? I just wish that I knew a little bit more about time management.
All right.
Because my first years here, I figured I caught myself slacking. And my grades, they went from like really good. Because when I start off, I'm like, I got my color coded pens. I got my highlighters. I got my planner. And then throughout the semester, I realized that like I'm not using them anymore. And I'm just whatever, pencil in class, taking notes, whatever.
Yeah.
I just wish I knew how to take better notes. So I'm not there like overhead writing, but also learning how to, do proper time management. Like if I have this time between this time, I can use that time for, reading a book or reading the chapter instead of just, like, I'm gonna go take a nap or like, I'm just gonna go watch Netflix for 2 hours and then get up when my class starts. Like, I just wish I knew how to manage time a lot better.
I think for that, you need to know how you work. I can only speak for myself. Like, the way I work is I can't sit down for very long, and I can't work on a single project for very long.
Really?
So I need to, so here's 5 things I need to do today. So I might literally start something for like 15-20 minutes and then go do something else and then come back and then continue it. And then go do something else. So I was 15 minutes on, 15 minutes doing something else, 15 minutes on, 15 minutes. So so I progressed 30 minutes on it. I focused on it. I got what I needed to get done. I've also learned, so that works for me. That probably doesn't work for a lot of people. And then sometimes when I need to grit it and sit down and I need to spend 2 hours on this, I can do it. But those are few and far apart because throughout the week I've made these small 30-minute like cuts into the assignment, right? And that learning helping me and figuring out how I function has helped me a lot, because that's why I can teach and still take classes and then do all the other things that I do. And you have to figure yourself out. You
have to find the right balance.
Yeah, for yourself. And what works for you is not going to work for me, and vice versa. So that's the most important thing I can tell you. Is like, you need to figure out how your brain works, how your body works. Like for me, another thing is like the reason I can't sit still is because it just bores me. So I got to get up and like, so I need to go to the library. So let me work on this for 15 minutes. Then I'll walk to the library. Then I'll come back and then I'll do another 15 minutes. That gets my body moving and stuff like that. And one last thing that's pretty interesting that I do, it's really weird. I'm really active. I like to run and all these stuff. I will literally like run 1 mile at like 8 in the morning, which is not early. So anyone listening, they think that's early. That's not early.
That's kind of early, yeah.
So I'll run 1 mile at 8. Just 1 mile, simple. Takes about 8 minutes. Come back, start working on what I need to work on, and then at 9, I'll run another mile.
Oh my God.
And then maybe I'll come back like, oh, I need to clean the bathroom, so I'll clean the bathroom. Right? Then I'll come back and I'll run another mile at 10. And then I'll work on what I need to work on. And it's just that there's always like these short little deadlines I'm creating for myself. But that works for me. It may not work for you.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that. Like usually, like say if I have household chores and I have like 5, I'll have to, like for me, I get all panicky if I don't do one like to like all the way.
Yeah.
So if I try to like cut that off and try to do something else, it'll be in the back of my mind like, you didn't sweep that right, or like you didn't pick up the dirt, like you need to go. And I was just like, yeah, but I need to do this first, and then like so I just try to do one task at a time.
Yeah.
In like one go. Does that make sense?
So you like to start and finish your task in one go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if that's what works for you. Yeah. I mean, if that's how you work, then obviously you need to have even. I think for that, if you're going to do that, you need to set a deadline of your task. Okay, I have to write this. I have to write 4 pages today. Yeah. How long is that going to take me? 2 hours, hypothetically, right? So I'm going to give myself till 9 o'clock. It's 7 o'clock. I'm going to be done by 9 o'clock. I'm giving myself 2 hours to do that. And at 9 o'clock, you need to be done.
Yeah.
Because that can easily drag into 9:30, 10 o'clock, and that's stuff you can do for other things. And I think you can kind of see that. You're going to see that even more when you start teaching, because in step 1, your lesson is supposed to be a 45-minute lesson, 55-minute lesson, and it can bleed into an hour and 15 minutes, but you had a deadline because your class ended at like 3 or 3:10, right? Yeah. So that you got to have that deadline, because then you're just going to end up taking forever, right? And not
only you're taking up your time, like as a teacher, but also the students' time. And that leads to the parents' times, because the parents can be there waiting for their kid to get picked up, and they're just like, oh, well, this teacher takes forever. And it's like you need to have better, like that's what happened to me on my lesson. I went over by, I think it was 10 minutes. Like even though in my head I was like, okay, we're gonna do this, this, and this, but talking to some students or like getting too engaged into think, I lost track of time, and my lesson went over. Okay. And I was just like, and then we had the 5-minute announcement. Yeah. So I should have taken account for the announcements, after school announcements too. But I just wish I knew, like yeah, you guys told us like, oh, keep track of time, keep a timer. But when you're hands on, and especially like me being new, I was like, okay, well, I feel like I need to give my 100% to like this student, and then go to another student, and like it was just all jumbled up, and I feel like I should have done a better job at the timing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, for many students, I would tell them over and over, get a timer. Yes. And like nobody would do it. Like, yeah. I wish y'all would listen, But, yeah. No, but I understand, but with strategies of teaching, you can, as we said before, you can set up a group and have the group teach each other, and the group talk to each other, and you can facilitate the group. So you're facilitating 3, 4, 5 students instead of spending all the time with one individual student. And as much as people would like to say that every student needs to get 100% attention, like that's not how people work, and you don't have the time for that. Yeah. Because if you're focusing only on one student, you're neglecting everybody else. What's everyone else doing? Yeah. They're doing foolish things, they're misbehaving,
messing around.
Yeah. So that's not a good thing. So we like to say, it's good to take care of this one student, focus on this one student, but that means you're neglecting everybody else. And I want to focus on that word neglect, because you're neglecting everybody else because they're not learning. And so that one student, if you use good, proper facilitation, you should be able to get at least everyone else to contribute. Because when you have the students teaching that one student, now they have a role, they have a job, and they're learning from their mistakes as they're teaching. Yeah. So these are all the skills you'll get from the UTeach program.
Like what strategy was it? The think, write, pair, and share?
There's a whole bunch of them. I often just say think, pair, share.
Yeah, that one where you have them think about the answer. Like for mine, they had to figure out what statements were true about, heavy things float, whatever it was.
Big things float and small things sink, and vice versa.
I had them think about it, and then I had them pair up, and then they had to share as to why they think that statement is true and why they disagree. And then from there, they came to a mutual understanding that, like, it is true. Like, I did see a baseball, float one time, and then a football floated, but my marble sank. And from there, they understood that, like, just because the size of the object doesn't mean they're gonna sink or float. Like it can be, total opposites. Like the lightest thing can sink, or like the heaviest thing can float. And
Yeah.
that's when I was walking around and I was hearing that, I was just like, hey, they're kind of getting it. Like, yeah, they're understanding from like each other. Because if we were to use like, oh, the density of whatever, they're gonna be like, okay, but does that really apply? If they use their experiences, they can understand a lot better.
Yeah, that's once again they're falling back on their experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Remember we said people learn most from their experiences.
Yeah.
So they'll remember like, no, I remember seeing a baseball and it floats.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna check off float. And so then you can throw like curveballs at them, like a bowling ball. Like most people don't. At least I think most people haven't thrown a bowling ball into a water.
Yeah.
Because we all know you're not gonna get it back because
Yeah.
it sinks, right? So yeah, like that. So you set them up just to teach themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and then you go and you check on them, make sure they're not teaching the wrong stuff, right? So there's a lot less work on your shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
But the teachers you had in the past, and I was one of those teachers. I can't get away from that, which was a teacher that kind of lectured a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing all the work.
Yeah, the students just come. It could either, like, there's some students who really benefit from like talking lectures, and then there's some students like me who it goes out one ear and out the other. Like, oh, this guy's talking again.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm bored. I'm gonna get on my phone, or I'm gonna pop on my laptop, or start doodling on my paper.
Yeah, and I see that a lot. I see that a lot in the UTeach classroom, because one person's leading the classroom, I'm in the back, and I see you all on your phone sometimes, and you're working on other things. But I'll go and put that away, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's funny how y'all are students, but you're also going to be teachers. But you do the things that students do that you're going to hate when you're teaching. But it's just human nature. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing that teachers do. That's another thing you'll learn from the UTeach program, is that students are going to behave the way they behave. And so you want to see, based on once you learn how they behave, you want to use that behavior in your favor to teach them something, right? So something that's pretty interesting in regards to that is that when you're teaching students and you know their behavior and you can use it kind of against them, not against them, I shouldn't say that, but you know how they're going to react.
Okay.
Like, sir, I don't get it, or something like that. No, I understand I understand you don't get it now, but you will in about 20 minutes, right? Because you've seen it from their eyes and you've seen it from their perspective. But that's just something you're going to learn as you go along.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you're learning from that. And in fact, in talking about learning, tell me about a time when you made some mistakes and you learned from them.
So, like, are we talking about, like, just, like, teaching, like, when are not teaching, or just, like, in general?
Whatever.
So, the one mistake that I had made was staying up, because I had a midterm coming up, and I was focused on my online class and just trying to catch up. Well, first of all, that was my other mistake, not being on top of my tasks and on top of my lessons. That it led me to do an all-nighter for my midterm. And I ended up falling asleep, like, on my desk.
Oh, you overslept.
Drooling on my notes. Totally disgusting. Like, my hair's a mess. I checked the time, and I have 30 minutes to get to my midterm.
Okay.
And I'm from Donna. It takes
30 minutes just to get here.
Yeah, and I was just like, so I'm hauling, whatever. Like, I'm going 80 when I shouldn't be, but I'm life or death situation for me here. And, like, I get there, and I'm looking for parking.
That's a hassle.
Yeah. Parking here is not the best. So by the time I found parking and by the time I put myself together, I missed my midterm.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So I had to talk to my professor, sorry. And I told her what had happened. And luckily, bless her soul, she let me take the midterm in her office. Like, I had to do it right in front of her. Sorry, there's no whatever. So that was my biggest mistake ever, and I had learned that, like, I need to pace myself and figure out, like, what times are gonna be good for studying and taking notes, and how it's gonna work with my jobs and my other classes, because I don't want to focus too much on one class where I neglect another one. And then I'm there trying to hustle, and then trying to pick up the pace and it's a disaster. Yeah. So from there, that's when I learned, like, I need to do this first. And then from there, once I'm done, I'm going to give this subject like an hour. And then I'm going to move on, take a break, go back to it, see if I need to learn anything else, and then move on, because that was horrible. And I probably had makeup like all smeared.
When was this? Was that recently?
Like a year ago.
Okay. I would rather it be a year ago than like it was just last week or something.
Oh no, I'd cry.
Yeah, so that goes back to time management that we were
Yeah.
talking about, right? And the importance of that. The analogy I always tell people is get like a gallon of water and pour it onto a plant. And what's going to happen to most of the water?
It's gonna get saturated into the soil.
Okay. And then let's say it's a potted plant. Where's all the water going to go?
Wasn't there like a hole, so it like goes down?
So you lose most of the water, right?
Yeah.
So you pour in a gallon of water, and the plant can only absorb so much.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but if you pour like a cup of water every day, or that equals to a gallon, eventually the plant will absorb most of the water. And that's how learning is. Like you do a little bit every day.
Okay.
So that goes back to how I learn.
Yeah.
Like do 30 minutes here, 20 minutes here, 15 minutes here, because that's just how I'm built. But yeah, like for me, it's very important to do that, because I cannot, for the life of me, take in too much information in one go. I was like, hold on, I don't know. It's just the way I am. So I like to use that plant analogy.
And it makes sense, because like if you were to overwater the plant, it's not gonna grow, and it's gonna like kind of die down.
Yeah.
But if you give it like some like time and patience, putting the cup in, it can grow into something more like amazing. Like
you might even kill the plant if you give it a gallon of water.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a possibility.
That's what happened to my cactus once.
Oh jeez.
And it's a cactus. So yeah, it didn't come out good.
Well, that's the analogy I always give people, and that's what works for me. And so I think that's what you learn. Time management, pace yourself a little bit every day. And it's also like compound interest, right? You know about compound interest?
No, I do not.
No, it's like how like you put money in the bank and you put in $1,000, and 2 months later it's a small amount of interest. It's $1,002. You made $2. It's not a lot of money, right?
It's dope.
But every single day you're accruing a little bit more pennies.
Oh, okay.
Start off, and then at the end of next year, it's not $1,002. It's $1,005.
Oh, okay.
So it grows exponentially. So it's the same thing. In 10 years, that $1,000 maybe became like $2,000. Still not a lot of money, but you didn't have. It's just passive growth, right? So learning a little bit every day. At the end of a year, 2 years, 4 years, 10 years, where is your trajectory? And the trajectory be like it's positive growth.
Also going up.
It's just positive growth. So a little bit every day, and I think that's basically what you're saying about time management in regards to that.
Yeah.
So here's something that's a really good question. I like to ask this to people. Like, what's something? It could be anything that you're most proud of.
Ooh, what I'm most proud of, what I'm proud of now is the effort and the balance that I kept in my life.
Okay.
So I work 2 jobs. One of them is at Walmart. It's a 24/7 store. So I'm new, so they have me in night shifts.
Oh God.
Yeah, and I do an online class, and I have 2 labs, the UTeach class, and then the lectures. One of my lectures is 4 hours long. It's my biology 2 class.
Okay.
So I figured out how to really improve on my time management while working my Walmart job at night and my teaching job over there with the school district. That's only for like 3 hours, but still I get out at 6:30 depending. If there's a mess, like if we're working with paint, there's paint, on the tables. We got to go clean it up, and I only till 7. And my other job doesn't start till like 8:30. So I found the perfect balance to not stress me out, like with, working so late and then having to go to another job. Like I found a good balance for me that I'm able to maintain a really good school grade and also my social life, because I do have a husband at home and I don't want to neglect him, and then I also have dogs, so I don't want to neglect them either. So I found a really good balance, and I'm really proud of that.
That's great. A lot of people can never figure that out.
I just hope nothing changes so drastically.
But be ready for that, because all it takes is someone to say, you know what, we're not going to have that schedule. We're going to do this schedule now. Yeah,
like with the classes, like looking for classes, I was looking for the Tuesday class because it fit perfectly with my schedule. And it's full, and I was just like, So, like, that threw me a curveball, and like it kind of stressed me out because I was like, well, I need to get there because I work my first job is at 3:30, so I like to find classes before. Like I even go for the 8 o'clock classes, which is really early for me because I have to get up at 6 to find decent parking here. And not having classes like that are available, I have to do sacrifices, and then from there like trips everything over. But I feel like with the practice that I had this semester, I can carry it over to the next semester, and I feel like I can find the right balance again.
Yeah. So now you're building on your momentum.
Mm-hmm.
So you've already figured out what works for you. You've learned from your mistakes,
and
you want to keep that momentum going into next semester. Hopefully next semester, because of that, hopefully it's a little bit easier for you.
Yeah.
Now my question is, and you don't have to answer this, but why do you have 2 jobs? I mean, I understand you have the education job, but and that seems to be the most beneficial for you. But why are you working the Walmart job?
Well, one, because I like money. No, because my dad makes too much money.
Okay.
But he's still paying for medical bills because he had his kidney stones removed like so many times.
Okay.
And then he had knee surgery, so he's paying off his medical bills, and I want to help him pay his rent, so it's easy on him because he's 65, and he should have retired already. But I have 2 younger sisters; they're still in high school, so he wants to retire till they're out of high school and they get like their first year of college. So I want him to relax a little bit. So I'm helping pay his bills. I pay his phone bills and stuff like that. But I also want to keep some of that money for me. So when I am older and sometimes, financial aid doesn't kick in and I want to register for classes, I have my money to pay that off.
Okay. So do you have grants or anything?
No.
Okay.
So unless I take like the Pell Grant, the 12 plus hours, then I get money. But even then it doesn't like pay for everything. And then it doesn't pay for books that I need for like labs, or like it doesn't pay for the gas that I need to go from here to here.
Yeah. So you're really trying to like squeeze the time and the money out as much as you can. Yeah. Just so my only advice for that is make sure you save as much money as you can, because you're gonna have apprentice teaching in the future. And that's being at a school all day, every day.
Yeah. I had a coworker. She used to work with me, and she used to be in the UTeach program. And there's times where she would miss out on work to like go to the whole day of classing, the class or whatever. And she would just tell me, she's like, dude, like it's a lot. Like, and I was just like, well, what do you mean? She's like, she would tell me, she's like, it takes a lot of time and effort. Like if you think being here for 3 hours is bad, I'm like, well, no, I don't. And she's like, well, I think it's like really bad because we deal with 120 students, not all at once, but we have 40, 4th and 5th graders. We have 30, whatever, and then we have 20 or whatever. The times change, or the numbers change. Yeah. And she's like, so imagine being with a group of kids for like 8 hours. And I was just like, I mean, that's what we signed up to do. That's our job. And she's like, well, I don't know if I can take it, and I don't know if she dropped the class or not. But if you hear this, I hope you're doing good.
Well, if she was UTeach, this is elementary.
She was going for elementary.
Okay, UTeach doesn't certify elementary.
No,
we certify secondary and high school.
Because for my job, we focus on, well, me, I'm in elementary, but our program, it's called the ACE program. It goes from elementary, middle school, and high school. So I don't know if she was referring to like elementary, but she just told me that like it's a lot of work.
Yeah, she was getting certified for elementary. No, we don't certify for middle school. So I mean, that's just some side information. Oh, okay. So back to the point is, I mean, you get a lot of experience in UTeach, but it's 3 weeks of planning, and then you go teach one class, literally one class, and then another 3 weeks of planning, and then you teach one class. So we prepare you a lot. Yeah. But that's all pre-game, man. That's all before, and then you need to get in there, and you're gonna play a whole game, and it's exhausting, and you're gonna teach every day for 5 days a week. All right. And the way we started is we start like the first 3 weeks of apprentice teaching, you kind of don't, you just observe. Oh, but some students are like, I can't just observe. I don't want to just observe. I want to get in there. And if you want to, go ahead. But we usually do 2 or 3 weeks of observations. Then you start with one class. And then after a while, you take on 2 classes. And then after a while, you take on 3 classes. Okay. So maybe let's say you're teaching for me. You'll start off, you're going to teach 3rd period. Okay. That's your first class. And then about 2 weeks later, you're going to teach 3rd and 5th. Okay. And then after a few weeks, you're going to teach 3rd, 5th, and 7th. Okay. And then eventually, by the end of the semester, you're going to be teaching the whole day. The whole day, right? Oh, okay. So, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, and then especially because not all students are the same. So like you have to figure out like which, and quickly too, as to like how students react or like how students will take in the information and how they will behave, and you have to take into consideration the time of the day. So like for my work, I usually have the fourth and fifth graders, and I have like 50 of them, and they're fresh out of after school because it's an after school program. They're fresh after school. They want to get on their phones. They want to get the day over with. But it's like, no, like we gotta focus on your homework. We gotta do, once you're done with that, like 40 minutes, then we're gonna do the activity. And then by the time they're done with their homework, they're kind of like already tired. And then the next period that they have is physical activity. So they go outside and they play football or whatever. And after that, they have technology. So they're already eager to go to the computer lab because it's more fun because they get to play cool math games or ABCYA or stuff like that. So when it comes to mine, where we have to do homework, they're already fed up with it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, well, I'm sorry, you guys. Look, I promise you, like, this homework, like, once this is done, we're going to do this activity. You're going to forget that you even, like, did your homework.
Yeah.
You're going to go home and you're going to be like, well, thank God I get to play my Xbox because I don't have to do my homework.
Right?
Yeah.
They're free.
And then after that, I have my second and third graders. They're more, they're more relaxed because they just came from outside, so they're tired out.
Yeah.
But because they're tired out, they don't want to do the lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the little ones, they went through the whole time. It's already towards the end. They want to go home. So, like, I got to make it enjoyable for them where it's not tasking on them mentally, where they just, like, zone out or they just don't want to do it. So I have to find the right balance. And I think with the apprentice, is that what it's called? Apprentice
teaching.
Yeah. I think with that, like, not that I have the upper hand, but I have a little bit more experience with dealing with the times and different students and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, just in what you're talking about, you have 3 different phases. You have 3 different groups that you were talking about, but you have 3 different phases. You have the reluctant phase, which is the homework phase, right? The first, and then you have the sloth phase where the kids are like, I don't want to do this, I'm tired.
Yeah.
And then you have the final phase. I don't know, we can call it something else, but you have 3 different emotional groups that you're having to deal with, and you have to, once again, as we said, kind of trick them to learning into their benefit. So you have to exploit their behavior and how you're going to get them excited to do the work. So the first group, I'm like, hey guys, I just need you to finish up these 6 problems. You finish them up, we're out of here. You can go play.
Yeah.
But then you got the group that comes in and they're a little tired. You definitely might want to group those students.
Yeah.
So that way they're talking to each other. It's a little bit more stimulating.
And they become more energized. Yeah. That's my first couple of days of teaching that job. They're just like, well, it's your classroom. You do what you got to do. And I was just like, well, what do I do? Right. Yeah. And it took me a while to like kind of figure out like the rhythm and the patterns between like each classes. So like if I know that my second and third graders are coming in from the outside, they're going to be tired. Give them a little breather, and then I'll set them up in groups, and then be like, okay, so this is going to be your group project. You got to put this together. And I think one of the lessons that I used was marshmallows and spaghetti noodles, and they had to build an Eiffel Tower.
Okay.
But they couldn't talk, so they had to communicate, like, whether it's, like, a note paper. And because they're so excited, like, they have to build this, but, like, kind of like a ninja and stay quiet. They were super excited about it, and they did that. And while I tried doing that with my 5th graders, they're more reluctant because they want to talk because it's after school. So I was like, okay, you can talk, but you cannot use any notes, and you have to use like a rubber band with strings. So you have to carry like objects. Like for them, I had them use paper cups. So they would have to get the rubber band, like each of them. Okay, so we're going to tug left. We're going to tug right. And they have to put the rubber band over the cup and try to pick it up as a group and then stack them and make a pyramid. And well, with the little ones, it's already after school, so I just had them use their imagination, and I'll play music for them. And as soon as Baby Shark comes on, they're all energetic again, and then they start doing the activity.
Okay.
So there's different stimulants.
You don't just have 3 phases.
Yeah.
You have different age groups.
Yeah.
And they're different, right?
Totally different. Like the second and third graders, they want to do things, to make you happy or like, make you like feel more proud.
Yeah.
The 5th graders, and especially nowadays, they're more into like the whole TikTok and the whatever it is, social media. Yeah. So that's all they want to talk about. And it's like, well, we can't do that, you guys. Like, we need to do this and this and this. And I try to relate some of their TikTok like references to like the lesson. They're like, oh, miss, like you get it. And I was just like, yeah, okay, yeah, I guess, yeah. So it, like, I don't know. It's just so different. Like each grade level is different.
Yeah, it's just in that small little window. First grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade. There's such vast differences. And you're like, wow. Obviously, as I've seen, as they've gotten older, they're more mature. But yeah, it's wow. Seventh graders are totally different than eighth graders. It's just they're just about a year and a half apart. It's crazy. It's crazy. So what resources have helped you so far in the UTeach program or in college in general?
So with UTeach, the resources that I had was one, the experience that I get from work, but also the experience I get from UTeach also helped me at work. So they kind of go hand in hand with each other.
That's great.
And as for school, that one I kind of had to learn on my own, but seeing how with UTeach you all give us like weeks in advance to like prepare, I kind of use that to help me prepare for like some final or like my final, for instance. Because this week the last time I didn't teach the third lesson, so I was the support teacher. So from there, like I used the keys, like how to, for my class, like specifically we had a study group, because we're a class of 200.
In your bio class?
My biology class, yes. So like, and then from there we're sectioned off into labs, and we had, unfortunately, our lab TA, like she doesn't give a lot of information, so we had to come together as a group and kind of bounce off ideas off each other. And I used some of the UTeach strategies that we use, and I used it into the study group.
That's great.
Without necessarily like being like, oh, like we need to do this and this. I kind of was like, okay, well, why don't we all try to figure out an answer for this? We'll come back and see like what we get. Yeah. See? And it's crazy. And then they're like, okay, mom, and I was just like, no, I'm not mom. I'm just trying to study you guys.
That's the thing that's about UTeach. It's really just about skills. That's all it is. Like, we're teaching you skills, and those skills are applicable anywhere. And I'm so glad you said that you were using them in different parts of your academic life, because we tell all the students when we're recruiting, they say, well, sir, I'm going to go to medical school. You'll be a better doctor with these skills. I promise you. I'm going to go to PA school. I promise you, you'll be a better physician's assistant if you take these skills with you. I promise you. So you'll learn these skills.
Yeah, and I didn't think I was going to get this kind of experience from a class that's supposed to prepare me for teaching. Like, I really didn't think, because it's so different from like my other classes I've taken before. So it's a nice first step.
That's what we want for you. We want all when you're a teacher, we want students to say like, she's different. She's a different teacher than what I've seen before. I don't know why, because they're not going to know. They're going to be 16, 17-year-old kids. But they'll say, I don't know why, but I learn a lot in her class. She's different. So we want you to be a different teacher. And so we try to make the class a little bit different. Your final project is a maker project. Yeah. I mean, like, we didn't even give you a lot of guidelines for that. So, so that's your final project. Or we can do the traditional route, which is, you need to take a final exam. Here's your 30 questions. You pass, you fail, things like that. And that's what we want for you. When do you plan on graduating?
Well, due to like financial reasons, I'm planning on graduating in the next 2 years. Non-stop. So I'm taking spring, summer 2, fall, spring, summer 1, summer 2, and fall, and then graduate from there.
Okay, nothing wrong with that. I did that myself. No problems with that.
So it's gonna be a lot of work, but I'm ready for it. And
you're learning.
I see the goal.
Yeah, that's good. And it's good to have a goal. What is that? There needs to be like an achievable goal. And your big goal is to graduate, right? But you have all these micro goals along the way.
It's like I want to finish, my spring semester. No, I don't want to skip. Like, one of my goals was to not miss classes. Yeah. Because like, even though some teachers are like, well, you show up or not, but it was my goal to go to class every day, especially my 8 a.m. classes, because 8 a.m. you're tired, you want to stay in. But I was like, no, like I promised myself I'm gonna go to this class, learn as much as I can, and then come back to it and stuff like that. So I achieved that goal going to every single one of my classes.
Yeah, that's great. So that's great, because the sooner you learn that, the better. And I don't think I really learned that until maybe my junior or senior year in college. So the sooner you can learn it, the better. Yeah. So that's some good advice to give to anyone who's listening. But after you graduate, what are your goals?
I'm hoping that with my experience, with here, well, also being a UTeach certified teacher, but also with my experience with the ACE program, I'm able to get a job. Like here, at least where I work, at least my name is there, and like they can see my experience. Yeah. I can get some experience there, and then move on to like another city and whatever the case may be.
So you want to stay in the valley, or do you want to leave the valley?
I want to stay in the valley for the first couple of years.
Okay.
Gain some experience and then move to a bigger city.
Okay, nothing wrong with that. Yeah, acquire some skills here and then take them with you. And I will say, going to a bigger city just has its own different sets of issues, because the only way I can give you the example for that is in regards to bilingual. So down here, bilingual is usually just Spanish.
Yeah.
But as soon as you go to a larger city, you're dealing with Japanese.
Well, I know Japanese and Korean.
You know.
Yes.
Great.
And Spanish and English. Yes.
So say some speak to me in Japanese.
Konnichiwa, genki desu ka?
I know konnichiwa.
So konnichiwa, I said hello, and then genki desu, or I said genki desu ka. So I said I'm fine. No, how are you?
So you know the language very well.
Yes.
You know Korean very well.
Yes. 안녕하세요. 저는 이름이 Danyelle.
Okay, I don't know what you said.
Yeah. Hello. My name is Danyelle.
So right there, you're sitting on a gold mine right there.
Yeah.
You don't understand, or maybe you do, how valuable that's going to make you. First of all, you can go to South Korea and teach.
There was actually an opportunity for that.
Yeah.
When I was in actually here in UTRGV with Professor Olmi-jin. She said that if you guys are interested, you can go to abroad, and you can teach there for six months, I think, and then you could expand it to a year if you really like it. But unfortunately, I wasn't as confident in my teaching skills, or because there I was taking my teaching classes, not with UTeach, but with the other ones, and I wasn't as confident, so I didn't take the opportunity to do that. But there is opportunities out there, and I wish I would have taken it.
You can still take it. I'm telling you right now.
Really?
That is a major advantage for you, because if you go to San Antonio, Austin, and you tell them I can speak Japanese and Korean, they're like, you know what, give her all the Korean students, right? And so now you're such a valuable asset. Nobody is going to hassle you, no one's going to bother you, and you have all the skills from UTeach and the skills you have now from the ACE program, that you should be a phenomenal teacher, and you know the language.
Yeah.
I can be literally the world's greatest teacher, but I can't teach Japanese students because I don't know what they're saying. They don't know what I'm saying. Yeah. So what's the point, right? All these skills are pointless unless you know the language. So yeah, you can go to South Korea. You can go to Japan. And the reason I say that is, one, I'm a big traveler. I love to travel. Been to Japan, love that country. But even when I was in Japan, I was at a school. We went to visit a school because we go through an educational route. And there's a bunch of young students who like, oh yeah, I'm here. I get to live here in Japan, and I have to teach these students English. And if you are a parent and you want your son or your daughter to learn English in Japan, you send them to the school. Now that's not a cheap school. It's very expensive. No, yeah. So those students are saying, oh, I get to hang out with the kids. I teach them English. I get to live in Japan. I get to make some money and stuff like that. Yeah. But that's going to be such a valuable asset.
Especially like, I know I have a few friends in Japan, and they go to cram school afterwards, and then they have the private tutors that teach them English, because over there in Japan, at least for them, that they want to travel and they want to get a higher education, but they can only do that by learning like another language. Like if they just learn like Japanese, it's not going to get them very far. Just like here, where we're like, well, it's kind of expected of us to know Spanish because they're so close to like Mexico. Yeah. But if you learn another language, it can also give you that one step, and it's the same thing for them. And like from there, telling them that, like telling my friends like, yeah, like I learned this and this and this, and they tell me, they're like, dude, you would have been perfect here, because like you would have been so up there. And I'm just like, well, like I only know Spanish and English, and they're like, that's even better. Those are like the most spoken like languages. Yeah. I was just like, yeah, but I want to learn more. And then that's when I learned Japanese with the help of them. And then they're like, okay, so now you got to teach us English. I'm like, okay, I don't mind.
I'm telling you right now, if I can control your life, like this is what you're going to do. Here's what you're going to do the next couple of years, right? Graduate, teach in the Valley for like 4 or 5 years, at least 5.
Yeah, for sure.
I can tell you later why that's beneficial, but at least 5 years. Then, as I said, move to Korea, even if it's for a year, 2 years, but you have the opportunity. It will expand your horizons, and to be the person living in Japan, I would be so envious of you. Like, wow, she knows the language she's teaching.
Yeah.
That's what I would do if I could control your life, you know? That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think that's why I also want to be a teacher, because like some teachers, they get summers off if they're not teaching like summer school, and I would love to use the opportunity to my summer break to go off and get that experience, like, you know, traveling abroad or whatever the case may be.
You see, I do that through I told you, an educational company, and we can take students with us.
Oh.
So we're trying to go to China this summer, and
I don't know that language.
neither do I. But we're gonna go, and I've gone to China. I'm gonna go to China. I've gone to Japan. I'm looking at the map behind you.
Well,
I've gone to Japan. I've gone to Germany. I've gone to. Oh, where else have I gone? I forget where I've gone. I've gone to so many. Costa Rica. Jeez, you know, I forget. Oh, Peru. Oh, I love Peru. I've been to Peru. I've been to a lot of places, and it's all through that program. Now I'm going for me, but you can recruit students and bring them along. So wherever you're teaching, you can tell the students, "Hey, in 2 years, we're going to go to South Korea, and who wants to go?" And you know the language.
Yeah.
And you have a guide and all that stuff. I'm not trying to sell you on it. I'm just trying to tell you that those opportunities are there even when you're teaching in the States. Using to take kids with you, so you can travel. Your husband can go with you, but you can also take some students with you.
Yeah. See, it sounds so like cool, especially because now like my students, they like K-pop. It's the Korean pop music there.
I know.
So they're slowly picking up the language too.
Yeah.
So they'll see me, they're like, "안녕하세요," and I was just like, "Wait, what? Y'all are what?"
I have a friend who she's a librarian, and she's all into Korea. She loves South Korea. She's been to South Korea. She loves K-pop and all that stuff. Yeah. And she tries to sell it with her, sell it to the student. Not sell it, but she's like, "Oh, you like that?" Some of the students are like, "Yeah, let's talk about it. Miss, did you hear this song?" And she's learning all these things. And, you know, you may not share it with a lot of kids, but you might be able to share it with 4 or 5 kids, and maybe those kids go with you on a trip. And you're the mentor, and you're expanding their horizons. Like, oh, I went on a trip to Korea. When are they ever going to go to Korea?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So that's a great opportunity for you to share to share your fascinations and appreciation for it with the kids.
Yeah.
It's not cheap. They got to pay, you know?
Yeah. But, oh well.
That's great. I'm so glad you're doing that. So here's a question. Now we got to sell UTeach, right?
Okay.
So why would you recommend math and science majors join UTeach?
So personally, like I said before, I was in other classes, teaching classes here that were offered, and they were kind of just the traditional teaching ways, which is kind of weird. Yeah, they're supposed to teach you how to be teachers, but they're being the traditional teachers. But here with UTeach, it's different. It's not different in a bad way. It's different in an amazing way. Like every time I go to the class, I learn something new. I learned something, or you know, I gained a different experience. Like it's been years since I messed with the sonogram?
The sonar.
The sonar, sorry. Yeah. That was it's been years since I've messed with that. And then according to like my group mates, they've never even, you know, touched equipment like that. So like those are the kind of experience that you don't get like in a normal class, in a normal teaching class. But here with UTeach, you gain that experience. And then not only that, but you guys are so helpful. Like with my lesson plans, I went to go talk to Mr. Spears, and he's like, it looks good, but like try to improvise it, or like try to fix this, and make this more blendable and stuff like that. Or like with Miss Goldberg. There you go. With her, she was real specific because she graded my lesson plan 2, and she was super like specific. Like some teachers like, okay, like all you gotta do is just do this and this and this, and it's like, so you get home and you're just like, what was I supposed to do? But like the way she explained it, she's like, so you might want to try using this language because it's a level 2, and you can inquire. Like she gives reasons as to why she's correcting you. Yeah. And I think that's really awesome because not a lot of teachers put that kind of effort. And you all as staff, y'all are amazing, and you guys really put in the effort. And it looks like you guys are having fun in the class as well. And we can, like, when I go to UTeach, like I'm so happy there. Like it's so fun.
Yeah, we definitely try to be accessible.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, we tell you, just send us a text to remind.
Yeah, on the remind, yeah.
Or we're gonna be here from 1 to 3 if you want to come, right? So we definitely try to be accessible because when you know we're available, there's a good chance you'll say, I just finished class. You know what? Let me go see if they're there. So being accessible is very useful for our students, right? And then we try to be as as detailed as we can in lesson plans. But it's funny because the lesson plans I've seen this year for y'all they started out good, and then they got better and better, and they always get better, right? But it's funny because the first one we have to give comments on.
Give a lot of comments. Yeah, mine was just like comment, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I fixed it, and then you all check it again.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't as many comments. It was just like, oh, okay, try to use this word or whatever the case may be. And then when it came to my lesson 2, the more I was teaching, there was more comments, but they weren't like, okay, so you need to change this or this. It's like, oh, you might want to include this. Like, there's some stuff where I think I'm already good, but y'all make me better.
Yeah, and that's just on a lesson plan.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a plan. I mean, the lesson plan can be great, and the lesson can be horrible, but that's one phase of it. Right?
Yeah.
But that's what we try to do. So it's always a work in progress, which is not what a lot of students get. A lot of students get, here's your test, this is your grade. Then they start the next chapter. So for 2-3 weeks, your lesson plan is a work in progress. So it kind of freaks students out. Like, so what's my grade? Like, oh, you submitted it. You got your 5 points.
Yeah.
But as long as what you did the first time you wrote it, you made those revisions and you made those efforts. And we're always contacting y'all like, hey, you didn't do
the
this,
emails and all that stuff. Like, that's amazing. Like, I have one professor right now, she doesn't give out emails. She's like, okay, midterms coming up, make sure you study chapters 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's like, oh, okay. Yeah. And then that's it.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's totally fine, because at some point, like, we've actually asked ourselves as a program, like, do we do too much for the students to the point that you baby them?
Yeah.
Right? And we never want to do that. But it's in step 1, we very much are guiding you a lot. And you're going to see that change as you go through the program.
And that's the way it should be, because it's like the course itself. It's a step 1 program. You know, you're giving, you're right now you're kind of guiding us to like where we need to go. And by step 2, we should already use our knowledge from step 1 to, move up. And then from there, we have to use our step 3 or however how it works. We have to use our experience from step 1 and 2, kind of like stairs. Yeah. Yeah.
So no, you're right. And
that's the way it should be.
Later on, there's another class I focus on called PBI. And I literally I have like very little communication with the students. I communicate with them, but I don't communicate with them till like maybe 2 weeks before their lesson, because it's unnecessary. At that point, you should really know what you want to do. And we communicate. They come in, they do their thing, they get their lesson ready, and the turnover is a lot quicker because they figured it out at that point.
Yeah.
But in step 1, it's very much like, okay, so here's what we're gonna do today. Yeah. today I need you to write this and fix this and blah blah blah. That's good. Okay, so good. I'm glad you're doing that. Yeah. So what's one takeaway from the UTeach program that you would give to anybody who's listening? What's one takeaway?
Oh man, don't be afraid to kind of step out of your boundaries. Like, if you feel like you're okay with whatever you're doing, take that extra step. Go visit your professor, go visit your TA, or go to the learning center and see like if this is good. Don't be afraid to just settle for, okay, want to do better, want to do great. Because honestly, with the UTeach program, like, I thought my lesson plan with like whatever experience I had, I was like, it's gonna be solid, whatever. Yeah. I turned it in, and it's like, no, like, you still need to work on it. And it's like, okay, I mean, like, I'll work on it, whatever. And then the second lesson came around, it was a lot better. And I was like, okay, maybe this is like the best I can do. But no, you guys didn't discourage me from like, like, oh, this wasn't like a flat 0, like this wasn't a 50. It's like, oh, you guys need to work on this. But everything else was great. So you guys really guide us, and you guys don't really put us down. Like, there's sometimes where like there's grade levels where like ours is scored by like 5 points, right? Like, yeah. So like, you guys don't put like just like a 2 and then, oh, whatever. You guys actually say like, oh, so you get a 4 because of this, but work on more of this. And I feel like that's really good. And I feel like if you're not even in the UTeach program, don't be afraid to take that extra step to better yourself, because it will help you in the long run.
That's good advice. Yeah. And and we try to take that feedback, so that way we can offer that to the students. And I wasn't here when the UTeach program started, but Mr. Sears has, so he's always imparted his experiences to us, to Ms. Goldberg and myself. And we work as a really good team in the fall, the 3 of us, and we make edits and we make changes, and then and then at the end we're like, well, that didn't work, let's try this now, right? Yeah. And so we're always trying to do that and make you feel comfortable in, I guess, make you feel comfortable in making mistakes, because You need to make mistakes.
Yeah, and you need to make mistakes to learn.
Yeah.
Because you just get and why those mistakes are like mistakes in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to know why this got wrong. Like usually when you get a test, they just mark it off, a little red X mark.
Yeah, it's an X.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, why did I get this
What's wrong with it?
Yeah. They're like, what can I do to be better? And some students don't, take the time to go to their teachers' office hours, take that extra step. And you should. It'll help you in the long run, and you can use that experience in other classes too.
Mm-hmm. And that's that investment I think we had talked about very early in the podcast, which was, what are you going to do for yourself? Mm-hmm. So instead of, taking a nap, as you had said, like go talk to your professor. Mm-hmm. And that's why we try to be as accessible as possible. You come see us, we give you feedback. This is what you did right. This is what you did wrong. Let's work on those improvements. And
not only that, but you also build a very good relationship with your professor. And you never know, what if you're doing a study, and like for me and my biology teacher, Miss Betta, she does like studies, and she carried students under her like wing, and they were doing a study focus on snails. So like even that, like even if you don't need help, or like if you do need help, you never know, the connection that you made with your professor can go in the long run. Like if you want to do a case study, or if you want to do a project or whatever.
Oh yeah, I mean I want to add to that, in that and if you listen to the previous podcast, I bring it up, but I worked with a professor in the biology department. She, because of that productive professor-student relationship, I was a better teacher. Now I'm working here because of that relationship. She took me in under her wings as a mentor, and so I always go back to her for a lot of things. And then now that I'm in the seat as the professor, I definitely like to see my students go and do something interesting. Wow, like they did it. I'm so proud of them. They did it. And it's not all because of me. We're a program, but it's because of all the effort that we put into it.
Yeah, of course.
And watching them, it's like when they come in, they're like little ducklings.
Yeah.
And when they leave, hopefully they can go and they can fly and take care of themselves and feed themselves and be successful.
Yeah.
All right, that's great. Okay, so I want to thank you, Danyelle, for coming in for the podcast. A little bit over. I know you got some stuff you have to head out and do, but thanks for coming out.
Thank you. No, thank you for having me.
And hopefully, since you're in step 1, hopefully you can come back in maybe a year or two, and we can do another catch-up podcast and see how you're doing then.
Okay, yeah, awesome. That sounds great.
All right, thanks. Great. And thanks for watching. My name is Omar Elizondo, and we'll see you on the next UTeach RGV podcast. Thank you.